there, it's me, Emily Payne, the honest fake-o again, in a very striking jumper dress. Do you like my new wallpaper? Just had that done a couple of months ago. I'm loving it. Now, this video is about a job that I did a few years ago now. I can't remember how long ago. It was a few years. And I was booked by a client who had seen my online profile, which is the profile that they look at to see who they want to book. There's lots of pictures on there and the description and services and prices and all that, which most of them don't bother to read. They just look at the naughty pictures, which is irritating. Anyway, he, in some of these naughty pictures, I apparently looked quite muscular. I am quite muscular. And as I've said in other videos, I'm constantly pumping iron. I'm quite strong. You can't see in this jumper dress, but I've got a cracking pair of biceps, as the actress said to the bishop. And my shoulders are absolutely magnificent. Now, anyway, that's not the point. He, in some of these pictures, I hadn't done it on purpose, but he'd seen that I had quite a good thigh. I've got very muscular calves, and I have got quite substantial thighs. They're meaty. You can never see me thighs because I'm always just from the waist up in these videos, but I have got legs. That's how I toddle about. And I've got two of them. So he saw these meaty thighs and thought, "Ooh, I'll book her," because he was into strength. I've seen a few clients like this, but this one springs to mind most. And so he booked us, and he told us in the booking process he wanted to do this. He liked Amazonian porn, which is what he was watching when I got there. Quite a lot of clients have the old porn on when I get there, because they're trying to get in the mood and say sex, drugs and rock and roll and all that. It depends on what the porn is. Sometimes I'll ask them to turn it off because I find a lot of porn quite objectionable. But obviously in this business, it is what it is, a porn escort. You've got to give them something. But sometimes some porn is beyond the pale, and I won't have it on while I'm there. And I tell them to turn it off, which they always do without much of a whinge. So that's good. Now, he was watching big strapping lasses chucking little men around in this porn, which was fairly amusing. It reminded me of kind of like a silent film in some way. There should have been that music over the top, like Keystone Cops. Or maybe it's the music from Benny Hill or something like that. But there was these big strapping lasses, muscular, and they must have picked like the tiniest little porn actors they could find, these men. But they were having a good go, toying them about and, fireman's lifts and all the rest of it, which I found quite comical. So he was watching that, and I was like I've said in videos before, you get them talking, right? He booked for an hour. If you get them talking as much as you can, more talk, less sex, right? Act like you find them really interesting, less sex, right? That's the plan. Doesn't always work, but usually it does. So I was getting him to talk us through the porn. I think he put the kettle on as well. Have a cup of tea while we're watching these big women chucking little men around. And so he was telling us all these fantasies and what he liked about this particular porn. And one of them was wearing cut-off denim shorts, like it was 1979. You know what I mean? Like very free, like a bit like the Hulk, as if she'd got angry and burst through her jeans. Do you know what I mean? It was that sort. Maybe she had. She looks like she's gone through a few pairs of jeans in her time. And anyway, so he talked us through all this. So he said, right, I want you to, he says, do you think you could carry us? And he wanted a fireman's lift. And I said, well, it was more, to me, now, I'm pretty sure I do heavy squats, heavy deadlifts, all that. Now, I was doing even heavier at the time. I'd done a bit of powerlifting in my time, and I was doing a bit heavier at the time than what I do now. And so I thought, well, yeah, probably. But it depends on the height, you see. I find with carrying a man, it very much depends on the height. Because he could be quite skinny, quite slight. But if he's, 12 inches, if he's a foot, the 12 inches is a foot. So let's say if he's a foot taller than me, that's awkward. Do you know what I mean? You can't get a purchase. They're just too long. But he was only probably a couple of inches taller than me. So I'm 5'4", so he wasn't that much taller. He was about 60. He was an average build kind of thing. So I gave it a good try, and I got him on my shoulder. I got him, and I did manage to kind of go a few paces, which he loved. He was quite impressed by that. I'm quite impressed myself. So I've never carried a man over my shoulder. Up till that point in my life, I'd never carried a man over my shoulder. A very heavy handbag, but not a man. Now, I did that. I'd taken my heels off. I wonder if you're thinking that. Has she taken her heels off? The heels were off, because you're asking for trouble there. You're asking for a broken ankle, aren't you? So then he went up to the bedroom. His wife had gone to bingo. His wife was only 5 minutes away at the bingo. Presumably she wasn't as strapping as me. I don't know. Maybe she was weak as a kitten. I don't know. But we went up to the bedroom, and he decided. First I threw my own little option in. I put my own little spin on it, because I said, "Why don't we arm wrestle?" His eyes lit up. He loved it. I won. I don't know whether he let us, but he wasn't like the most athletic man in the world. Do you know what I mean? So, but anyway, I won. And then we went upstairs, where he wanted me to strangle him with my thighs. So, got me dress off and everything. And I proceeded to. He put his head between my legs, and I proceeded to strangle him with my thighs. You know, get the older doctors going. Urgh! It's quite, if you're looking to sort of release any anger, squeezing someone's head between your thighs is quite a good way to do it. So we had a signal, which was we didn't have a safe word. We decided, in case he couldn't speak. His head was facing me, like as if he was going down on us. He wasn't at this point, but his head was, and I thought, well, we'll have a safe action, not a safe word, in case you can't speak, in case you've suffocated you. So the safe action was just when he would tap me thigh when his head had gone like sufficiently bulbous. It went purple. Sort of like a mauve. No, not mauve. More like puce. I don't know, but it went quite red, sort of a reddy purple colour. And then he tapped my leg. He's saying, release the thighs. He loved that. We'd try different positions with the old thigh thing, squeezing. We're being experimental, you know. He hadn't done this with anybody else before. But he'd always like a big strapping lass, but he'd never taken the plunge, you see. And then we had sex, and that was that, really. But I did see him a few times after that, and his wife was still at the bingo. I mean, she'd come back home. She'd been back home since. She wasn't like permanently at the bingo. But it was always when his wife was at the bingo, you see. He took the opportunity to get someone to turn his head purple and make his eyes bulge out. It's quite a good workout, though. Really, sort of like attacking the muscles in a slightly different way, which is what you've got to do with your training. You know, sort of. Anyway, I'll do a video on training at some point in the future, and change the whole topic of the channel to sort of muscle building. And that's that, really. So I hope you have a nice rest of day, and goodbye.